Welcome to another episode of The Weigh-In. It's your boy Clark Belvin. Not quite the full house today with the boys, Steve and Ray. How we doing, gents? Steve, how's your weekend?
I'd be a lot better if my presenter stopped skiving off. What's going on? You last week, Andy this week. What's happening? What's happening, boys?
We thought we'd give Andrew the day off today. And Ray, how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been all right. Thank you. Keeping busy as per. Trying to stay fit, get back into optimal shape. Adrien Broner, follow out your boy.
Anything interesting this week, chaps?
I actually have a week off, boys. Don't need to cause any ruckus, but going to a national park in the north of Thailand. Very beautiful place called Khao Yai.
Heads up for our viewers. Steve's in Thailand, so yeah, he's not breaking any lockdown rules.
Not breaking trends.
Before you start blowing out the comment section.
I'm going to be driving there, guys. I'm going to be driving there. Don't you worry about it. But yeah, no, it's going to be good.
But yeah, hopefully all in good time. Both myself and Ray will be able to step out, go to the pub, watch a bit of football, watch a bit of boxing. All in good time, lads. All in good time.
Indeed.
So on today's show, we'll review the fight night action from the weekend at Wembley Arena, as Josh Kelly suffered his first defeat in his grudge match versus David Avanesyan. We'll be crossing the pond as Adrien Broner made a return. Love him or loathe him, you can't avoid him. And we'll finally discuss Oscar Valdez. Bit of housekeeping beforehand. If you could share, like, subscribe, and like Raymond said, if you could tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's kick things off with action in the welterweight division. Josh Kelly versus David Avanesyan. Steve, let's start with you.
Well, what I tell you, man. Remember a few weeks ago we did that fight. What's your pick of the fights coming up? And I picked Josh Kelly against David Avanesyan. I knew this was going to be a cracker of a fight, and I don't think it disappointed. Yeah, no, good fight, man. Good fight. It was like exactly what you'd like, how you imagined. The boxer versus the brawler, the come forward fighter, rough and ready. Real gut check for Josh Kelly. I'm gutted for the boy. He's a British kid. He was an Olympian. He represented Britain at the Olympics. Rare. But this is boxing, man, and you got to overcome these things. David Avanesyan, like I said a few weeks ago, he's no joke. We saw it again last night. It's different levels. He was at a different level to Josh Kelly right now, and you can't beg, borrow, or steal experience in this game. David Avanesyan's ready to go on to a different level. Josh Kelly needs to earn his stripes a little bit more. That doesn't make him a bad fighter, and he can come back from this. We always talk about this in boxing. You're not a bad fighter with one loss. You know what I mean?
I felt that it was a good gut check for him, like you said. One thing as well that is going to help him identify is what type of fighter he wants to be, because one thing, credit to all fighters that go in there. I'll never look to disrespect them. But at the same time, there's certain things that I saw in that fight where he tried to be a showman. If you're going to be a showman, you've got to be fully committed to it. He was trying to be a showman and still get in touch. You can't do all that Roy Jones bravado of put your hands in the air and then you move your torso back when punches come in and start, or trying to use a slick style, trying to use the Philly shell, but you're still getting touched. So either you haven't mastered that style.
For the first 3 rounds, he was fine doing it. For 3 rounds, I thought he looked like magic. I thought he looked quick, sharp, slick. But this is the professional game, yeah? And you need to be able to do that for 12 rounds, yeah? Because what happens and you put so much into it. That's why it's not an effective way of fighting, because the amount of energy that it takes, mental and physical, to use all your reflexes, all your speed on every jab, use every single bit of speed that you've got on every shot that you throw. It's the equivalent of putting every piece of power that you've got onto every single shot that you throw. You're obviously going to burn out. So you need to be able, they call that learning how to pace a fight. If that was an amateur fight last night, who would have won that? Josh Kelly would have won it by a punching mile. But this is the pro game. You need to learn how to pace a fight. You need to be able to pick your spots when to fight. You can't come out and throw 100 punches around. That kind of speed and that kind of style, you're obviously going to get tired. And that's what happens. If you use his feet too much, he needs to hold his feet a little bit more. He needs to put a bit more sting onto his jab. He needs to throw with a little bit more authority. And these are all things that he never learned on his apprenticeship, because he just fought a bunch of winnable fights and then he got pushed up too quick, I thought.
That's been a big argument as well. I've seen a lot of pros online, whether it's Tony Bellew or Darren Barker, that's been talking about, has he been pushed too quick? Some people say yes, some people say no, because it wasn't like he went to the world level. This was European level. And then I think it was just a case of, maybe you just wasn't ready for that level yet. Obviously, you can't take away from Avanesyan. He's an incredible fighter, but I feel like it was an important lesson for Josh Kelly, because like I said, also to identify what type of fighter you are in terms of what is your plan B, because when his plan A stopped working, it almost looked like, crap, what do I do? And then he went to in-fight with a slugger, which was, a lot of people watching that yesterday was just like, why would you start fighting inside with Avanesyan? Like, you're going into his fight. What was your plan B if you couldn't jab from the outside?
Back to your point, Ray. I know this fight was 3 years in the making. It was Kelly's 12th pro fight. Do you think this fight was too early for him?
It's a catch-22 because obviously he's been inactive for a while. And if he took another tune-up fight, people are going to start complaining and saying, oh, what's going on? You're meant to be this big prospect. Why is he having another tune-up fight? If the risk paid off, then people are going to be saying, look, he's the truth. He's this, he's that, singing his plaudits. He lost. He realized, you know what? He's not at that level just yet. And now a big thing is, how do you handle that loss? And you learn from it because, like I said, my thing was what I saw from it. He tries to be a showman. He likes to be a showman. That's fair enough. But if you're going to be a showman, you got to be fully committed to it. You can't be doing showman moves and getting touched. Them showman moves that he was doing yesterday, that's for people that are too slick for their opponent. You can't be doing bob and weave and stand in the pocket and look at the guy and try to do all that stuff and you're getting touched. It don't look right. I'm not trying to see you do a half-assed Mayweather impression. Either get the job done properly or change up your style.
And Stephen, would you say Avanesyan is world level?
Right now, if I was to actually label it, I'd say he's probably that level between sort of domestic or European, and world. There's a kind of, he's a really good European champion, and he'd be lucky to win a world title against if there was a good winnable world title. He's not going to be a dominant world champion right now.
He needs to secure intercontinental belt first, just beforehand.
Well, there's intercontinental. Josh Kelly won a whole load of those, but to get to the point of was he rushed? Yeah, like 12 fights, whatever. But he never went the traditional route. He never won a British title. He never won a Commonwealth title. He never challenged for any of those titles. Why not? Why not go the traditional route? Chris Jenkins currently has those titles. That would have been a really handy fight for him. That would have been a good measuring stick. Chris Jenkins would have touched him up and he would have won that fight, but learned also, I can't do that stuff. Why not bring up O'Hara Davis, Josh Kelly? Why not bring him up and wait? It's a good winnable fight. O'Hara Davis is a very good fight. I'll pay O'Hara Davis well for the fight. Why not get Jack Castle? Why not get, there's good fights, good domestic fighters. Lewis Ritson's with Matchroom. Why not bring him up? He's from the Northeast. Why not bring him up? Why not let them have fights? Those would have been all winnable fights where he would have got touched up and then he would have learned. And if he fought a good few of those fighters and he would have come through and learned. Did he fight Carlos Molina? It's a joke. Or the other guy, Ray Robinson. He wasn't ready.
I just realised if we were to have the Lewis Ritson fight, with Newcastle versus Sunderland's, got a little derby there.
Yeah, that would have been a banging fight. Do you know what I mean? That would have been a really good fight. Lewis Ritson could have got himself really well paid. Josh Kelly could have learned a lot. Could have looked good winning that fight. It would have been a really big event for the Northeast. It would have built the buzz, but behind one of them. I think Josh Kelly probably would have won that with the size and the talent. But then they just he fought absolutely no one, and then he fights a really solid European champion like that. And they wanted to make this fight 2 years ago. Imagine what would have happened 2 years ago. He got murdered.
Would you say that's on Eddie Hearn on Matchroom?
No, obviously the promoter is not always seen as the good guy, but sometimes it is easier to go at the promoter than it is to look at the other people involved. We saw in the tweets that we shared in the group chat, Tony Bellew, for example, was saying your manager and your fight team decide on your fights. Your promoter can offer you whatever, but at the end of the day, down to your manager and your coach. Adam Booth is an experienced guy in this game. He's been here, he's done that. So if he thought that Josh Kelly was ready, then who are we to go against that? And at the time, for a lot of people, if that fight goes well, they're going to call Adam Booth a genius and saying, oh yeah, you was right. So maybe he thought his boy was ready and then he found out the hard way that he wasn't. So listen, man, in life, you're going to take risks. Sometimes it's going to pay off, sometimes it won't. But on this occasion, it's not a match room.
Adam Booth, the way he's spoken about Josh Kelly in the past, I think he overrates the guy. That he saw something there that wasn't there, and I think he got so caught up in the kind of aesthetics of boxing rather than the actual winning. He's kind of Adam Booth's become almost the Arsene Wenger of boxing. Do you know what I mean? He's more interested in the kind of the way it looks on paper, but not actually winning fights. When was the last time any of his fighters had meaningful wins? Do you know what I mean? He hasn't done anything recently. No, for real. Let's be real about it. Do you know what I mean? He boxes all boxes, pity patter, kind of same style. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't work, and he overestimated his fight. I can't believe he made that fight. Do you know what I mean? Avanesyan's team, they waited for 2 years for the fight because they knew how winnable it was. They didn't move on. They hung around for 2 years. They knew that was chump change. That guy's an idiot. There you go. Like you say, Eddie Hearn just makes fights. What do you want him to do? Like Ray said, yeah, it's true. He's the manager, blah, blah.
Been an interesting 2 weeks. So we had Zelfa Barrett pick up a controversial win. We had Warrington get knocked out by Mauricio Lara. And now this, where Josh Kelly losing this bout in the 6th round. What would you say is next for Josh Kelly?
There's still a big career there. Do you know what I mean? There's like he's still a talented guy. I think the Conor Benn fight makes perfect sense, man. I think.
What, even now?
Yeah, like he's a lot better than Conor Benn. Conor Benn, I'll have to see something special from Conor Benn to against Vargas. Who are you picking in that Conor Benn Vargas fight?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I'm actually edging towards Vargas.
Conor Benn is name brand, whether we like it or not. He's done the right route of, yeah, he's got his father's name, but he's put enough work in for people to be looking at him without saying, oh, you see how I think we've spoken before, how Chris Eubank Jr. is seen as Chris Senior's son, whereas Conor Benn is starting to come into his own in like, no, that's Conor Benn. That's not Nigel Benn's son, that's Conor Benn. So if Conor Benn does win that fight, I think he's going to call out Avanesyan, and he's got that angle of saying, I'm going to avenge that loss for the British that Josh Kelly fell at. At this point, I feel like he's too big for wanting that Josh Kelly fight after defeat. His name is hot right now, and if he gets a win over Vargas, then Conor Benn's definitely going to be gunning for that title.
I don't think it would make sense for Conor Benn to take that fight. But if I was Josh Kelly, I'd be looking for a fight like Conor Benn. But if Conor Benn loses to Vargas, which could happen, then that would be a good fight for me.
Oh yeah, that sets up for a brilliant comeback of whoever wins that fight is the go-to guy for the Brits in the welterweight division.
Okay, the next fight, Florian Marku versus Ryland Charlton. The people's champ.
Yeah, Marku proved me wrong, man. He came through. He got that W. I'm a fan, man. I think he's a good fighter. He's got a good persona. How far he can go in the sport definitely doesn't match the recognition that he's getting and the platform that he currently has.
I love his entrance, a bit of Albanian drill.
Oh, mate.
By the sounds of it.
JLS drill, Albanian drill, got it all. But no, yeah, he boxed well, to be fair. But at what level? At what level is Ryland Charlton? Like Ryland Charlton was just like following. He was the underdog in his last fight against. I don't even know who that other guy was. Like, do you know what I mean? So, and he turned over a win. He's a journeyman.
Let's give credit where credit's due, though. He showed good variation in his punches.
Do you know what, as well? He actually boxed this time, whereas I think he kind of started to rely on like coming forward and like using his size. He's a big welterweight. Looks like a really big welterweight. But yeah, he started to not just use his size, but also he was moving around the ring. He was using his feet and he was jabbing more. He's got a lot to learn. He's in a position where he's got such a big following that he's going to get chucked in against someone quite like a bit more experienced than him. Do you know what I mean?
Raymond, your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, it was like constant back and forth. I think he showed a good gut check of getting dropped and coming back, but it's a bit scary. If you're getting dropped at that level, where is your ceiling? And I think that's what people are wondering after that fight is, where is your ceiling? He's a popular guy, so I still think you can get eyes on him. But what the Matchroom card has shown over the last few weeks, well, not last few weeks, sorry, but last week included and the year before, a few of the Matchroom cards, I said it, is a lot of British/European guys have been under the light. And, sometimes it's like, do we need to have an honest conversation on what level a lot of these British and European guys are going to perform at the world level? Because who are the guys coming from these cards that we're saying, like, this is the world beater?
That's the thing. We're not saying like, that's why I think you got to talk about Marku. In what way are you talking about Marku? Like, do you know what I mean? Are you saying he's going to win a world title? Is he that kind of prospect? Because I don't see that at all. Is he a guy that can have some fun fights around the domestic level? Yeah, for real. Like, do you know what I mean? Him against O'Hara Davies, I think O'Hara Davies coming up would be quite funny. That would be a good build up. He's a bit bigger than O'Hara. O'Hara's got a better boxing skills. Something like that would be a good matchup for him. But is he going to win a world title? Absolutely not. Didn't
O'Hara say that Florian need him in the head during sparring?
It's always funny hearing gym stories from people as time goes by. You see how some people's careers are intertwined, and you just think to yourself, what the hell is going on behind the scenes?
What I would want to know though is when he got kneed in the head, did he quit?
Listen, I better hear from O'Hara that he went for the takedown after that.
Oh man.
Did you guys catch Marku's post-fight interview?
Like Conor Ben said after the fight, he was like, "Look, we're at different stages, man." He was like, "I was knocking out those kind of guys before, like 3 years ago." He's like, he's behind me in the sort of thing. I'm fighting Vargas next, who's fought, Porter and them kind of man. So like, how can I be looking at Marku? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I kind of 100% agree with that. They're different levels, man.
Boxing ability aside, in terms of charisma, Marku's 10 out of 10. Guy can talk the talk.
Nah, you gotta respect it. Listen, in a game where there's so many people, you have to differentiate yourself, and he does a good job with. I can't even say his marketing. He just likes to show personality, and credit to him. It was always good to have some personality among the field.
Okay, moving on, gents. Broner versus Santiago. The return of the can man, AB. Raymonds. Let's talk about Adrien Broner's comeback. It's been 2 years. How do you do?
Listen, man, it's upsetting because I'm a fan of the can man, because back then anyone can get it. Now, boy, he might have to say that he can get it, because it was not an impressive performance at all. The scorecards, I was just like, what? I nearly called 911. I'm not even from the US. I nearly called 911. I've seen another robbery. What's going on? For me, this was worse than the Selfa Barrett decision, because the Selfa Barrett one, although it was bad, he was still way more competitive. Where the Broner one, if you look at the stat, it was like he literally got outboxed in like so many rounds. You can say even up to like 6 rounds in the bank for Santiago. He outboxed him. So then when Broner won, and by some of the scorecards by a big margin, I was just like, man, they don't get the police on this. I need an investigation. Like, this is ridiculous. And Santiago's corner, even though they knew they put in a lot of punches, I think they kind of knew that whole thing of, we're on Broner's turf in America, you have to finish it. And then Santiago as well had a strong finish in the last round. And at most, it should have been a draw. But Broner, I hope this is more of a case of this was a tune-up fight and he needs another. But he did not look good. He didn't look like the Broner of old. I feel like the lifestyle that he had has taken its toll on him. And in a game like this, you've only got a short window of opportunity. Broner's going to become a precautionary tale of what happens if you don't take care of yourself. Mayweather was always getting on to him, telling him, take care of yourself outside of the ring. As brash as Mayweather is, he was always a person that talks about discipline, the same as like a B-hop as well. And I think Broner's going to be a tale of what happens if you let the lifestyle get to your head and think that you can't be knocked off the top. It's very sad, because controversial or not, I don't always agree with him, but he's very entertaining. But now it's like entertainment can't match up with how he's fighting. Oh man, RIP the can man. I don't think anyone can get it no more.
I think Broner's got he looked terrible last night. You know what I mean? That's real. And his personality will always sell. So what I'd want to know is, like, he's obviously not going to operate at a world level, yeah, but he can fight those other names. Who would you like to see him fight? That it would be a good build up, and it'd be like kind of a 50-50 of those kind of old school guys. I'm thinking maybe like Amir Khan at 140, Broner, Amir Khan at this stage, maybe interesting.
Ooh, that might be a good shout.
Like something like that. Like he's not gonna. I don't want to see him fight like a Regis or any of those lightweights, Devin Haney or anything like that. I want to see that. I want to see him fight like those old guys. And just the fights that never got done back then, just get them done now. Why not?
I was thinking, can you imagine a build-up, boys? Florian Marku, Adrien Broner.
Alright, I was just about to say. I think Adrien Broner is just a world-class Florian Marku. He's just
oh man. Yeah, that's Steven's opinion. Marku, we're rooting for you, bro. We're massive fans.
Bro, I just called him Broner. You should love it.
I don't know about that one. I think Broner's in a weird space where his name is big enough that you can't drop a level. Mm-hmm. So now it's just like, where do you go? Like, he can argue that he needs a tune-up fight, which is true, because obviously the long layoff, he lost about over 30 pounds in camp. And that's another thing as well. If you're in camp and your main focus is on losing weight, you're not always going to perform to your best. So maybe this fight, you can maybe give Broner a bye, but I think just looking at his face, he just looked like a weathered man. Like he just looked like a shell of himself. It's almost now that you've become more of a caricature of yourself rather than this being your actual personality. So
I think the final one of Broner though is like, it's just unfortunate that what the 140 division grew into. 140 division used to be kind of a bit lame. Like, I mean, there wasn't really much going on there, and everyone moved up to welterweight to try to chase the money. Whereas now you've just got killers everywhere. Well, welterweight, lightweight, light welterweight. It's just all like there's nowhere to go. Do you know what I mean? The top
killer,
five,
no filler.
The top five in all those divisions is like an absolute monster. So what do you do?
The Adrien Broner story continues. All right, on to more boxing news. Whyte and Povetkin, a new venue, a new date, March 27th in Gibraltar. Thoughts on that, chaps?
What was the name of it again? What's the name of the show again?
Something on the mountain.
Rumble on the Rock.
Rumble on the Rock.
Rumble on the Rock. Who's come up with that name? Yeah, good. Why Gibraltar? Because he's in Portugal and he can't get to the UK, so he's going to Gibraltar. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
And they call it Rumble on the Rock.
Close enough. Nice weather. It's like, I'm sure the operation fees might be a bit lower than usual. So I think they just thought you can still do it on UK timing. So I'm sure the logistics of it all just suits them even better. So why not?
Is it the first boxing match in Gibraltar? Must be. Definitely.
It might be the biggest fight there. Who knows?
Yeah,
we might have to do our Googles on that later on.
Yeah, for real. But like you say, that aside, it's gutting that it got like postponed, didn't it? And I'm really looking forward to that fight, man. For me, that's like one of my pick. Unless outside of Joshua Fury or whatever, that fight for me is like top.
Yeah, the fight's happening, and that's all that matters.
That's it.
In other news, Callum Johnson signs with Frank Warren, the latest to join Queensberry. Casey Kademi to co-headline the show on BT Sport. Very much looking forward to that one.
Friend of the show, shouts out.
Yeah, massive shout out to Casey. And on the later episodes, I'm sure it'll get confirmed in the next week or so. Craig Richards is set to face Bivol. Opinions and thoughts on that fight once announced. And yeah, let's quickly touch upon Raymond. You're a massive fan of this fight. Valdez's win yesterday. Let's talk about that.
Man, shout out to Top Rank. The algorithms pushed me to an episode of seeing Blood, Sweat and Tears. It's their version of, HBO 24/7, aka the Countdown show. And I got really invested into Valdez versus Brechelt. They've got their own national rivalry. One got picked over the other in the Olympics, so they've been heated since then. And what a fight, Valdez moved up a weight division to super featherweight. A lot of people doubted him, and he went in there. What a performance, man, and what a finish. 10th round buzzer beater. He dropped him twice before, and then he hit him with a left hook on the buzzer beater after dodging 2 punches. And if there ever you wanted a highlight reel finish in your career, that is definitely up there. Valdez, dodge, check left hook, bang, right on the button, shut Brechelt down. What a finish.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much of an underdog Valdez was going into the fight. I saw that fight as like 50-50. I don't really check the odds, but afterwards I found out he's a 3-1 underdog. So to do that when you're a 3-1 underdog, it was a good fight. He fought really well. It was like that classic kind of Mexican style of fighting the whole way through. And then 10th round, like Ray said, bang, bang. Yeah, no, good finish. Fight of the year, stoppage for real.
Yeah, I think the size difference was very evident as well. I think that's where the underdog tag came from, because I remember even watching the fight myself thinking, wow, that Valdez is actually quite the small guy, and I thought Brechelt was going to use this size. But credit to Team Reynoso, trainer of Canelo, and now a lot of the Mexican or Hispanic heritage stars, because they've been doing a lot in that camp, transforming people's technique. Valdez went from becoming a slugger to becoming the technical slugger, so he knows when to brawl, and now he's added to his game of knowing when to be slick.
Is Reynoso the best trainer in the world right now?
For sure.
Do you reckon?
I think so. Trainer of the year.
Trainer of the year. Like, who's going to give? We got to give.
Good to look at his roster right now. He's got obviously Canelo, Ryan Garcia. He's got Andy Ruiz now, and he just added into that stable. He's got
Like,
Valdez.
That's insane. Let's put that out to the viewers. Like, who do you think is the best?
trained?
Yeah, who are the best trainers right now? Who's the best
I
trainer?
I
in the
don't
world
I,
right
I don't know if I can call him overall best trainer, but one thing I'll give him that he's helping a lot of fighters refine their fighting style, because I know Valdez spoke about before how he broke his jaw in his fight and then he kept on slugging it out. And I think Reynoso basically told him, yeah, that's nice to know you got that warrior in you, but that's not nice to carry on your career like that, because long term you don't want to end up not being able to spend your money because your health is in tatters. So shout out to him, and honorable shout out as well. Last week, my countryman, I didn't get to give him a shout out. Richard Comey on the top ranked fight as well. Brilliant victory last week, 6th round TKO. Love to see it. GH in the building.
All right, lovely stuff, boys. All right, big thanks to Stephen Ray for your top boxing insights, as always. That's all we have time for, folks. Like, subscribe, do share, and yeah, keep watching for more content. Take care.
Peace.